Hello, and welcome to the WWIA podcast. We're honored to have you join us in our mission to bring honor, connection, and healing to America's combat-wounded Purple Heart heroes. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, we welcome you. If you're a returning listener, thanks for coming back. Please be sure to tell others about our podcast and leave us a review if you're enjoying what you're hearing. On this current episode of the WWIA podcast, WWIA Founder and CEO John McDaniel continues his Veteran Entrepreneur series as he welcomes Brett Baker to the program. Brett is a retired Army Ranger, husband, father of two, and the co-founder and visionary of VAUSA. VAUSA creates meaningful jobs and community for military families through strategically building remote teams for veterans and faith-based businesses. VAUSA prioritizes people over profits, believes in using their business as a ministry, and is passionate about using their God-given gifts to serve others. Brett's other passions include mentoring transitioning veterans, homeschooling his two children, and running a homestead just outside of Savannah, Georgia. We're excited to share this episode with you, so let's join John and Brett now.
Hi, I'm John McDaniel, founder and CEO of the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation, and this is our podcast, Honor, Connect, and Heal. And today, I've got a very special guest with me. His name is Brett Baker, and Brett is a visionary, former soldier, former Ranger, first of the 75th Regiment, served for 12 years in the regiment, and when he got out, he started a great business. It's a phenomenal idea. It's called VAUSA, and he is the company's visionary. And welcome to the program, Brett.
Thank you, John, for having me.
Absolutely. So let's just get right into this. I started this series of, I'm really interested in veterans who become entrepreneurs. I mean, I fancy myself one. So anybody who's got the moxie to after they take off their uniform to, start something new as an entrepreneur, in the business world, I'm always a supporter of. I love it, and I think it's great. So tell us about VAUSA.
Yeah, so about 18 months before I got out, my wife was a teacher. She was teaching elementary school. We had two young kids. Both were in daycare. And we just got to that point where she was pretty burnt out. I was gone all the time. The war had been weighing on our marriage. Mm-hmm. She was dropping our kids off at daycare before the sun came up, picking them up after the sun went down. Her whole paycheck essentially was going to pay for those kids' daycare. And we got to the point where she needed to pivot. And we heard about this job of assisting business owners from home, virtual assistants. We'd never heard of it before. So we sat down with some friends who were doing it, and they kind of let us know what it was like, and she wanted to give it a shot. We could always go back to teaching. They always need more teachers, but she wanted something to give her some more balance, to be the spouse she felt like she wanted to be, and the mother. She wasn't torn between her different roles. So she left teaching, and we gave it a shot. Quickly, she was working full-time hours. She was supporting 3 business owners, excelling, and there was just a palpable difference in our home. And as we continued kind of down that path, we felt God calling us to share this opportunity with other people in our situation. And the unemployment rate for military spouses is extremely high. Right now, I believe it's 27%, and the national average is 3%. So the jobs were needed, the balance was needed, and we felt like this was something that could help other people the way it helped us. And so we started the business. We called her best friend, which was another Ranger wife, told her what we wanted to do. She was all on board, so we shed a client to her. We went out, we found another client, we went and found another military spouse, and that's how it worked. It just grew organically from there, and the business is run completely from home. Everyone that works for us is a contractor and is virtual, so wherever their spouse moves, PCSs, they can take that job with them. It gives them that continuity piece. Everybody that works for us generally is part-time, so it is an opportunity for a young mother who can't necessarily have an employee type job to have some independence, to have that job that's creating some additional income from their family. And it was just very, very instrumental in kind of bringing some balance to our home in that crazy time of life. So we started the company, and it's just grown organically from there.
That's great. That's a great business model. So the spouses, right? So is it true to say that I believe you said like all the people that you hire are in fact military spouses? Is that true?
Not everyone. So we have some that aren't military spouses, and we're not going to turn away people that are talented and share our values. But, I believe we are best situated to help the former versions of ourselves. And our former version is that military family. So we know what it's like to be in the trenches of that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And those are the people we're passionate about, especially the military spouse, because any service member understands it. But it's a thankless job. They hold everything together for us at numerous periods of our lives.
Oh, yeah.
And
you mean so the spouses, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're passionate about. Let's give back to this community that kind of suffers in silence, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So, okay. So how do they find you? I mean, that's what I was thinking through, on top of my head. I'm like, okay, there's a massive amount of potential in the labor pool in that arena, in the military spouse arena. Mm-hmm. But how do they, that 27% that's unemployed that wants to find work, how do these military spouses find VAUSA? How do they do that?
Obviously, social media has opened so many doors for recruiting, but we have different partnerships with nonprofits that have access to military spouses. We work with certain bases, especially like transition programs. So we're constantly out there recruiting, and then word of mouth is always our best friend. If somebody is pleased with the community that we've built here and they recommend their friend, just like if a client recommends a client to us, word of mouth is always the strongest way to get referrals.
Yeah. Okay. So, I run a business, it's a charity, but nonetheless, it's a business. Just tell people the only difference is at the end of the day, shareholders don't, if there's any money left over, it doesn't go to the shareholders. It doesn't go in anybody's pocket. It goes back into the business, but at the end of the day, it's a business, we're a national charity. Right. And so, I was thinking to myself, and when you dialed in and we got you on screen there, you saw David, who works for me, and David works out of the Carolinas. And, so we were just chatting a little bit about what could if we were going to use a virtual assistant, and we were going to call upon Brett, and his company to help us out occasionally. What would they do? I have some ideas in my head, of course, but we were just beginning to talk through sort of the mechanics of it all. Like for us, our biggest Achilles heel, operationally, the foundation is doing superb. Okay. It always has been. I always look at it like a three-legged stool, right? The foundation is a three-legged stool. So you have operational leg, that's got to be strong, right? Yeah, always. And then the financial side, you got to be strong financially. You can't, you can't do the work that we do because it's expensive. And administratively is the third leg of that stool. And that's probably always been our wobbliest leg, the admin leg.
Yes.
So, it's under-resourced. It's a super complex environment here. There's a ton of work to do, and we try to keep our administrative overhead low. So, we've got people doing all kinds of different things that they otherwise would probably not do. But one of those things in that world is thanking people. Okay, hey, people give you money. Okay, keep doing what you're doing, man. Here's $500. Here's $50. They got to get a thank you letter. They use it for their tax purposes, so it's got to be right and all this. And so there's a data entry piece, and then there's a software solution that we have. We've been through a couple of those. But I'm just trying to think through how we could, hire somebody, to do these things, because if that person walks through that door, you can go, hey, look, here's a pile of checks, boom. I want you to enter. Here's the login and ID to the software system. You get a little bit of training, and boom, there you go. You can see the person come every day, come and go and do their work. This idea of having somebody do that virtually, we were chatting about, how could we actually make this work, and so, I'm sure you have some thoughts. We have some thoughts, but we're really seriously entertaining it, to be honest with you. We're entertaining very seriously, and we're going to actually have a team chat about, is this a good fit? Should we give it a shot? If we give you a shot, right? Like how much, I just got to, it's not to put you on the spot here, but, are we obligated to, how much are we, like how much, 3 months, and I don't know, we're going to sign a contract, to talk me through that.
Yes. So you will sign a contract, but you're not obligated to stay with us. The day that we quit providing you value is the day you can leave. We ask for 30 days heads up for termination, but that's not required. And to kind of go back to, you said there's a lot of people doing some admin, but I'm sure that's no one's primary function. So if you take a person who can just focus on that, and they're excited about all those tasks because that's giving them a career. So they're going to take those tasks under, and they are going to execute them with motivation and excitement because they want to do those things, all those things that you don't want to do. And, I would imagine for you, that follow-up piece is very big, right? You have these donors, you have these people from small donations to big donations that are contributing to your cause. And it's how are we continuing to reach out and to maintain warm relationships with them and make sure they understand the impact that they're making. So, that's kind of a whole piece right there where you could probably just have one person that's simply there to do all that correspondence with your donors and kind of gives them follow up on what their contribution did and what things are going on. But, CRM management, I imagine, would be a big one for y'all. I'm sure there's a lot of correspondence flying around, a lot of different people. But everything that you did with me following up to this, the calendars, the communications, the making sure I had everything set up, do I have my headphones? All of that stuff can be taken under by someone virtually. And then even, I think you mentioned, you mail a lot of letters and thank yous, like all that can be done too, because you can ship all the stuff that you need to be sent out to someone. And there's people that will sit there and handwrite your cards if you want every single day. So, the possibilities are kind of endless. And what it really comes down to is, for you specifically, it's like, what can only John do? Where are his strengths? And everything else should go off of your plate. Obviously, it doesn't happen overnight, but it should be delegated over time because you are the one that's really pushing the ball down the field. What is the 20% of things that have to happen that are going to make you more successful? And everything else can be handed off to somebody. And that's kind of where we fit in. And we don't just blanket throw a warm body at you. We sit down, we have a strategic session where we're pulling everything out of you that you could possibly delegate. We are creating a specific job description just for the things that you want. And then we go to our talent pool and we find the people that fit that, both from experience, from personality, from just, are they excited about the cause that you're undertaking? So, that admin leg that is wobbly, can be taken over by somebody else that's all they want to do, all the stuff that you hate doing.
It's like, well, I still sign the thank yous. I don't generate them. Although the other day I was like, we're woefully behind. It's nobody's, fault. It's just this, it's not like it's one thing. It's a series of things that, this current time that we're behind in, that got us to where we are. We're going to switch software solution sets because the company that had the software suite that we were using got consumed by somebody else, and they had a great idea, and they're going to transition it to this. So we said, okay, yeah, we'll transition with you too. We've been good teammates, and then the new company came in and the software system. So it took us like 2 months to just realize that this is not going to work. This is a bad solution set for us, and maybe for you. Okay, well, what we had was work, and now you're going to change this to that, and it just doesn't work for us. So we lost like 3 months there, and then you had to find a new horse, and so here we are, 6-8 months down the road, and in the meantime, the spigot was still turned on. Yeah. So we have some catching up to do. But yeah, you're right. Leaders have to lead, right? Yes. And the beauty of like in the military, as a former, commander, you have an XO, and I just tell my XOs, like, hey, guess what? You know what your job is? I'm like, what's that, sir? And I go, you get to do everything I don't want to do. That's it, because if I'm doing like little things like that, then it just doesn't allow me to be me, and I have to be me. I got to go do the things that are, every minute that I spend doing something, whatever that is another minute I'm not doing something else. It's the opportunity cost of doing this versus that. And, leaders ought to be focused on up and out and the things that are important to the organization. Sometimes that is a handwritten thank you from me, sometimes it is me picking up the phone and calling somebody. Absolutely. But anyway, so yeah, you get, I believe in your idea 100%. I think it's great that you're serving a population, the military spouses primarily, who are underemployed, and are in, unique, very unique situation, support to a military spouse, household six, if you will. And I know that's an old school term, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to run that enterprise. I mean, to me, it's like, if the household is taken care of and everything's good to go with the kids and as a military guy, you remember, I mean, I don't know how many deployments did you do in 12 years?
9.
Okay. So there you go, and so, yeah, I mean, you're gone, a lot in that line of work. So anyway, that's, I really do appreciate, what you're doing, but let's talk about being an entrepreneur. Like, so for example, why did you gravitate to that space? I mean, you fancy yourself obviously an entrepreneur, but, tell us why, it is that you gravitated towards that versus I'm going to get back on the goat trail and be a contractor and slug it out to work every day by, going back to, Fort Stewart or whatever, why?
Yeah. Well, for the contractor piece, I wouldn't get out, I wouldn't want to get out of the military if that's what I want to do. A lot of guys take that path. I think it's a fine path, but it's like, if staying in the gunfighting business is what you want to do, then stay in it. And I personally never liked working for the government in general. To be quite frank, I didn't like the amount of control that they had over my life. I have a problem with authority. All the reasons why people were shocked when I joined the military. Yeah, and exactly. Before we had this opportunity, I knew I wanted to be a business owner. And I couldn't tell you why, other than the fact that I didn't want other people to tell me what to do. Yeah. And I wanted to know that the success or failure of my occupation depended on me, not on other people. Yeah. If I made it, it made it because of me. And if I failed because of me. Mm-hmm. In the military, it's an interesting kind of dynamic. It's like, it doesn't matter how good you do your job, you don't make any more money. And that's fine. We didn't join.
That always got me. That I gotta say, that always just got me. I'm like, okay, so what do I get out? I mean, I'm just saying, not what do I get out of this? It's service. Okay, I get it. Mm-hmm. I did it for 20 years and 20 minutes. Actually, I did it for a lot longer than that, but I was on active duty for that period of time. And I used to remember thinking to myself, okay, let's break this down. If I outperform every one of those dudes right there and dudettes, okay, what am I going to get? Well, I might get something on my uniform, like another star or another thing, little widget to put on there. And I might get a better report card, but I'm damn sure the only way I'm ever going to get any more, like money, okay, not that money was super important to me, but, hey, it makes the world go around a little bit, right? But the only way that's ever going to happen is if I get promoted ahead of everybody, and I get a little bit better a paycheck sooner than everybody else because I was below the zone, which I never was. But anyway, nonetheless, you're right. I mean, I had to chuckle when you were saying that because I felt the same way. I was like, I felt like, I just felt like there's something inherently like the military could do a little bit better, if you ask me. At whether it's advancing people or paying them more, some more incentive other than, a check mark on a report card. So there you go.
Yeah, it's not the greatest incentive structure. Of course, I could sit here all day long and pick out all of the things I don't like about the military and the way it's run. But at the same time, I'd be hard pressed to tell you a different way to do it, to manage the people and the personalities that we manage to create the same end result. But for me, I wanted to do my own thing and I did not want to be constrained by anyone else. Like coming out of the military, it's like they controlled us. And so I had the idea that I was going to I had a neighbor I was drinking beer with one time in my apartment complex, and he worked for a general contractor, told me about his career, and he said, "Hey, I think what you do is would help you excel in this building environment." And he told me about how he basically learned how to do all of this with a commercial company, and then he opened up a side business building homes, and he was doing them simultaneously. And I was like, that sounds like, hey, I can probably do that. So I had it in my head. I was going to go work for a general contractor for 4 years. Once you do that, you can get your own GC license. And I was going to start my own business. And once again, I mean, I didn't even have any experience in the construction industry. I just needed something to aim at. And I knew that I wanted to do my own thing. And then we had this opportunity, because like, you have a plan and then God has his own plan. This came up, and I had already wanted to be a business owner. And so we launched in on this business. And it's interesting, because I remember like telling first I told my father, I was like, hey, I'm going to start a business with my wife. And, he was like, I think that's a huge mistake. And I think, a lot of marriages possibly couldn't survive, but I can tell you what happened for me and my wife. It created a partnership for us that we would have never attained any other way. For the first time in our lives, we were planning our future together. We were on the same track, rowing in the same direction. And it just slowly brought us closer and closer. And it broke down some barriers. For example, we really struggled to have a healthy conversation about finances. Our whole marriage, both of us very strong personalities, a lot of passion. And, there was about a year into the business where we had this wake up call. It's like, look, if you can't manage and keep your financial house in order when you're tiny, how are you ever going to do it when you're big? And I fully believe that in my own life, God is going to give me more when I've shown that I can steward what he gives me effectively. And until that, he's not going to let me outgrow what I can handle, because I will fail. And he has continued to show me that in my life. So there's so many different benefits of kind of starting this venture that have really been quite amazing. But when it came down to it, all the things that I would say I love about being a business owner now, I didn't know any of them. I just knew that I wanted to do my own thing, and whether I succeeded or failed, it was on my shoulders, and I wanted to control my time. And that's what we've really pursued ever since then. I never thought about the world of working from home, and we can talk about that. It has its own challenges. But now, in today's time, I'm 100% in control of my time. We run a remote business that I can do anywhere. We homeschool our children. There's no attendance policy. There's no one telling me what my kid has to do. It is completely on us. And that is because we believe time is our greatest asset. It is the most valuable thing in our life. You never get back, right? Our business is about creating more time for people. Our business is about creating more time for us. And that's what we're in pursuit of. And then the question has been over the past 5 years is, how are we using that time we're creating? And that's been a journey in itself.
So how long now has VA USA been a going enterprise?
It's 2018.
18. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, they always say the break point's like 5 or 6 years usually. If you can make it 5 or 6 years in business and not take a salary, that's typically what happens. Is it takes at least that long to get something to bite. But, then you're over the first hump, right? That's the key. Well, so let's talk about rangering real quick.
Well, can we jump back real quick, John, before we hit rangering? Because you said something that I'd like to talk about. You were talking about how, you're a nonprofit organization, but you are a business.
Yes.
And
100%.
I am a for-profit business that has a cause. And I think people can kind of get this world confused. First of all, if you're a nonprofit, you are a business. And just like in your business and my business, no margin equals no mission. So when people have this mindset that they're going to start a nonprofit and you have to create revenue. If you don't, then you are going to fail. And you can be a for-profit business, which we are, but have a cause that you're pursuing. For us, we create meaningful jobs and we create community for military spouses. 10% of our profit goes to our outreach program. What our outreach program does is it focuses on our families. In 2024, before we were more focused on taking care of that spouse. How does that look? It's It's meal trains when the husband's deployed. It's sending cleaners over to their house when they're in a tough period of time. It's keeping up with the birthdays and the kids' birthdays and all that stuff that everyone knows that they should be doing for their people. But the longer we do this, the more people we see struggle, the more relationships we see that fall apart. And everyone knows about the statistics of suicide rate for veterans. Everyone knows about the statistics for the divorce rate for these military families. And for us, what we feel God calling us to do is to try to treat these families before they become the statistics, right? Because most of the people that work for us, they're young families with young kids, and they are truly in the trenches of that military life. If we can try to help them through this period, our hope is that we can prevent some of these statistics. So one of the things that we started an outreach program from the very beginning because we knew we wanted to love on our people. We wanted to create an environment where people, they felt safe, they felt comfortable, they had people that understood where they were in life. And we'll hire military spouses that are in these cities. They move to a city, their husband leaves the next day. 4 months down the road, they still don't have a single friend there, and we become that community for them. So we have a team that specifically does that. They're reaching out to people. They run our Bible studies. Like we don't hide our faith. We are a faith-driven company. We believe that this business is a vehicle for ministry for God's kingdom. So we run Bible studies. We brought in a chaplain about 18 months ago to 2 years ago, and it took us a few years to figure this one out. We were like, how do we help people kind of in their mental struggles, in their relationship struggles at home? We trying to figure out what's the good thing that we can do for them that's stuck. And it took a while. I found out they have these chaplains that go out that work for businesses. And when I figured it out, it's like, wow, I should have known that. I'm in the military. We have chaplains, and we got assigned this chaplain. Her name's Tracy Burns. We use Corporate Chaplains of America. A big shout out to them. This woman has been so instrumental in the development of so many people on our team. She's touched about 90% of our team. And her job is to walk with you wherever you are in life. She helps with our Bible studies and stuff, but she does a lot of one-on-one mentoring and counseling, whether it's the spouse, the husband, one of the other family members, our clients. There is nothing that our people can go through that Tracy hasn't walked through with thousands of other people before us. And so she's that piece for us where it's completely anonymous. She's not going to preach at you, but she's there to meet you wherever they are. And we have people that are in dark places that are really struggling because no one teaches you how to be a military spouse. No one teaches you how to be a parent. No one teaches you how to be married. She is that wise elder that we have that we bring in that can walk alongside you. So she has been hugely instrumental. And if any business owners are out there trying to figure out how can I better take care of my people, I would strongly suggest that you look into bringing a chaplain into your organization. In addition to that, we have a scholarship program that we're putting into place in 2024 where we're sending couples to marriage retreats. So at the end of every quarter, we take the profit, we see what we have left. 10% goes into this outreach program, and we send people to marriage retreats just to have that. If we believe if just once in a year, some couple can take the time to focus on their marriage and go to one of these retreats, which I've been to, which are very impactful, that we can start helping, right, pull people out of these statistical spirals that end up in divorce. So the marriage retreats.
Do you want to help people, or do you want to make money?
I want to help people.
Okay. Do you want to have a successful business, or do you want to just help people?
I want both, because I can't help people.
No mission, no margin, business, no mission. You're talking just about taking care of people. I am, and that's what you're saying to me. That's what I'm hearing you say, right? But I just want to talk about your, I get that. Okay. I get taking care of people. I get that. But, you have to have a business that makes money and makes profit, or you're not going to be doing business very long, right?
Exactly. No margin, no mission.
Okay. Right. So how are you doing that? How are you making your business better?
Well, first of all, we believe in constant self-development. So we're members of a Christian peer advisory group. I don't know if you're familiar with these CEO roundtables. So ours is called C12. It's once a month in person. It's once a month, basically like a one-on-one session with the chair. So that was a way for us very early on, as with no business experience, to try to surround ourselves with other business owners that had the experience that could help us kind of along this journey. be our compass check, if you will. We run off of a format called EOS. We have an EOS implementer, and basically he's like a business consultant that comes in and he helps us kind of with our structuring of our company and keeping, all the ducks in a row. And I believe in searching out other people who are successful in the place you want to go and asking them questions. Everyone talks about mentorship, like find a mentor. And I think that can be a little, confusing for people, because people are like, I'm just going to find this one person who's going to take me under their wing and just keep me on the straight and narrow. And that's not been my experience. My experience is a mentorship can be one conversation with someone, or maybe it is multiple, but finding people who are the place you're trying to go, who have found success in what you're trying to do, and just asking them as many questions as you can and continuing to do that. So, business conferences are a big driver of revenue for us, but we're also going there to be around like-minded people, preferably people who are smarter and more successful from us, so that we can glean any wisdom that we can off of them. That's how we're constantly trying to develop ourselves as leaders.
How I'm going to judge your business. I'm going to tell you right now how I'm going to do it. If my team decides to go, if we decide to go in the direction of hiring a virtual assistant from you, once that decision's been made, we're going to, engage you. Okay. We're going to see how that goes. We're going to, maybe get a chance to, select or look at some of the candidates. I mean, maybe you're going to offer a few. I don't know how that works, but at some point we're going to select somebody, or somebody's going to get hired, sign some paperwork. Okay. And then this person's either going to perform, or they're not going to perform, or they're going to be someplace in between, right? And that's how I'm going to judge you.
Yep.
I want to judge you on the quality of that experience and the results. Okay. And so, I mean, and then I would imagine, I mean, do you have any customers do they write in reviews? Do you have any people that
of course.
Are they on your website?
They are. Yeah.
There. Okay, cool. I'll check them out. So these are businesses that have hired you and or are probably still hiring you. I would imagine. But that's how that that's at the end of the day, that's where the rub is. I mean, it's got to be. I don't know how much it. I mean, because like let's just say, for example, that I'm willing to hire somebody at $20 an hour to do this job. That's it. That's my budget. To part time, 20 hours. Okay. A week at $20 an hour. Can you help me?
No.
You can't?
No.
Okay, well, we're not going to do business. Why can't
That's
you?
fine.
Why can't you help me there?
A couple of reasons. One, we don't do 20-hour a month packages. We went down that road young in our business. And the reality is 20 hours a month, that's not a real job for the people we're trying to create jobs. And that's not enough. You got to get
40 hours? You need 40 hours? You need a full-time job?
The lowest I like to ever take on is 60 a month. And you need
60 hours a month.
Yes, sir. You need enough time for one, to create a real job. Two, there needs to be enough time in there where you actually see the benefit of what we're trying to do. And three, it's going to be more expensive than $20 an hour. You can find $20 an hour, maybe with some freelance people, or you can outsource it to the Philippines or somewhere like that. That's just not our model. And every nonprofit isn't a great fit for us. Every business owner isn't a great fit for us. And what I learned early on is when you're young in business, you just want clients. You just want business, right?
You need revenue.
Well, exactly. You do. But every client isn't necessarily the best client for you. And in the end, a bad client or a situation where you're doing something that's a little outside your norm, that ends up costing you more money in the end. So, and then, you're asking about like former clients, clients of mine. So U.S. Army Ranger Foundation is a client of ours. Three Rangers is a client of ours. So there's plenty of people out there that can talk to the professionalism and the value that we bring. But I get it. Like, especially in the nonprofit world, it's a very specific budget. It's pre-approved. And if we're a fit for you, we're a fit. If not, then I'm always here to support you either way.
I see. Well, it's interesting. I'm glad we had that. That chat. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I would have thought, okay, that in your labor pool that you'd have somebody or several people out there like, you know what, I just want to have I want a part-time job. I don't want if they could afford to work a full-time job, then they'd probably go out of the house and go do a full-time job. So my assumption was that you were hiring military spouses on a part-time basis because the rest of the time they're working from home doing all the wonderful things and necessary things that have to happen at the home, like raise children and keep the house, keep the enterprise straight. So are you telling me you only hire people full time?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
I got a requirement. My requirement's halftime, man.
Well, halftime
you can't help me?
John, halftime isn't 20 hours a month is not halftime.
No, I didn't say a month. I said a week.
Oh yeah, well then we can help you.
Okay, I'm sorry if I said a month. No. I need 20 hours a week. That's what I need. It's a part-time job.
Yes,
and I'm willing to pay. Okay, I said $20. I mean, I might go a little higher than that, but let's face it. This person's entering data. Okay, this isn't rocket science. We're not splitting atoms here. We just got to enter data correctly and be able to maybe even write a thank you letter. And we got a bazillion, examples of that. This is not skilled labor. We're not, picking into somebody's brain, not, sort of thing. So, I mean, I'm just being honest with you. So if I've got 20 hours a week of work, okay, and maybe 3 months worth of it, can you help me? How much is that going to cost?
I just can't help you. I can't help you at $20 an hour because, like you said, I need revenue, and I'm not paying my people $10 an hour.
Right. Okay. So all right. So when should we have that discussion now, or should we have it offline? How much it's going to cost me?
I'm transparent with it. If you start before January 1st, you're going to pay $36 an hour. If you start after there, you're going to pay $38 an hour, and that's not for everyone. Like I said, you can go find companies where they'll give you someone in the Philippines and just do basic data entry.
I don't think that's not going to work for me, but yeah. Okay. So I got 36 an hour is where you're at. And I could get somebody for $20 or for 20 hours a week. Okay. And that's where we start. Okay. Well, hey, so then, I mean, do I get a say in who this person is? I mean, how does that work? You mentioned that earlier. I'd like to hear more about that. How do I mean, you go to your pool of people and you say, okay, you understand their skill sets and who they are and yada, yada. And you introduce our organization. I mean, do I get a pick?
Yes.
Or do you give me one option or multiple options? How does that work?
Yeah. So, I mentioned the strategy session where we pull everything out that you're looking to do. Then we go to our talent pool, and we are going to bring you candidates, a minimum of 2. And we have already fully vetted them, background checked, references, personality. They've done multiple touches with us. They've done some assessments with us. So we're going to present packets to you, and you review those packets. You're going to decide, do I want to interview these 2 people? Because we're going to say that you have to interview at least 2. Even if the first person you interview is just the most amazing person you've ever met, you need someone to compare it to. So you're going to decide, are these 2 people, do they seem like qualified candidates that I'm looking for? If not, we'll bring you another one. And then you decide, these are the 2 that I want to interview. You get to interview those folks any way that you want. And then you ultimately make the decision. If you didn't feel strongly about those 2, then we'll go bring more candidates to you. Once you make that decision of who you want to go with, then we're going to bring a coach into your relationship. So when you kick off with that person, you're going to have this coach that comes in. And that coach's job is there to help guide you, especially through the first 90 days, which are the most important. That's when trust and accountability and traction needs to be happening. So they're to help communication hurdles, any red flags, make sure we're taking on the things that we're supposed to be taking on, and they're doing it in the right order. And it's just really helping you kind of figure out, how do you use this new tool that's on your team? That coach will stay with you through the duration of your relationship here. But it's really focused on that first 90 days. Does that answer your question?
A coach in addition to this employee?
Yes.
How's that work?
So there's going to be a cadence where that coach is going to meet with the both of you and can meet offline. And it's a whole process of ensuring that all the stuff that we talked about taking off of your plate in the very beginning of that strategy session, it needs to be done, and it needs to be done in a prioritized order. And, there's a lot of people out there that they're not very good at delegating, to be quite frank. And some people are very good at it. John, I don't think you're going to have any problem telling people what to do from what I can tell, but plenty of people are like that out there. And at any point in time, our guarantee is this: at any point in time, if you feel like this person is not a good fit for you, then we will go do the whole process again, free of charge. We're going to find you that assistant. And our intent in this is there's a lot of project-based companies out there. We're not looking for project-based work. If you say, I got 2 months of work, that you're just not an ideal client for me. I want a long-term relationship.
Okay.
And if you have additional stuff, we always pull more people on. If you have a fundraiser coming up and that you need some excess labor to be brought in, you always have access to the rest of our team and anyone that's talented on our team. If you need graphic design, we got graphic designers. If you need whatever you need.
Well, I tell you, I'm fascinated by your business model, Brett. I really am. I just don't. I'm asking these questions because I'm genuinely interested. I just never, I never thought about, like, I don't want to. I personally don't need a coach. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that whoever is doing my job, this job, like my executive assistant, as an example, wouldn't welcome to have this coach that's an interface, for the employee. I'm just, and I would talk to the coach, to say, okay, hey, this is what's important to me, and this is how, this is what right looks like. And at the end of the day, this is, what the expectations are, sort of thing. And I think that coach might be helpful, for my, executive assistant, as an interface between, the employee, so that the coach understands, so after we chat with this coach, then the coach interfaces with what you and your leadership team and the employee. I'm just interested in this coach. How does that person, again, make our lives better? And what do they do behind the scenes once they get done with the chatting with with me and my team, and they understand, okay, I got it. I understand what you need, what you want. What does that person do, that coach? What does that person do after they hung up the phone with me or my assistant? I'm just curious. That's just something I would like to know more about.
Yeah. Once they're done, once they hang up with you, so to speak, their focus is that assistant of yours clearly understanding what's needed to be done, prioritizing correctly. Are they communicating effectively to you, or is it, John's got a super strong personality, so this person is very quiet and is afraid to speak up some of the times? So we're there to problem solve. We are there to make sure that this relationship is trending in the right direction and they're hitting some of the milestones that they want to see hit. And it's simply another person to come walk alongside to try to ensure a successful relationship between the executive and their assistant.
How many coaches do you have?
Right now we have 2.
Okay. Are you one of them?
No. No. That's not a role. That enablement's not a strength of mine. That's not a role you want me in there doing.
No, that's cool. Well, that's interesting. It really is. So you rounded the 5-year mark here, and you're in Savannah. Are you just outside of Savannah?
Yes, we're just outside of Savannah. We're out in the country a bit.
Yeah, and you don't have you don't have a brick and mortar place. It's your house, and everybody, so you keep your overhead down, that way. Okay. So let me ask you this: what can I do to help you? What other than we chatted about me hiring you, one of your military spouses, and I promise you, we'll give that a real solid look here, as a team, and I promise you that. But what can I do, to help you be more successful, drive more business to you? This podcast is a possibility, right?
Yes.
This is a possibility. There's going to be more than one person that listens to this. We're in the top 40 podcasts, across the nation. So we're going to get lots of people are going to listen to this. But what can we do? You got to help me out there. I want to help you in your enterprise, but just give me an idea. What are the things that I might be able to do to help you?
Yeah. Obviously, I appreciate you having me on here, because if people don't know your business exists, then they can't be a patron of it, right? So just the awareness of our existence makes a big difference. On the spouse side, we're always looking to hire military spouses. And there's a lot of them out there. I know a lot of people listening to this are going to know spouses out there that are looking for part-time virtual work. So any spouses you can send our way.
Lots of them. Yeah, lots and lots of them. Now, let me ask you, they don't have to still be on active duty, do they?
No, absolutely not.
Because we have, geez Louise, there's thousands. Thousands of people that literally Purple Heart recipients, that many of whom have, certainly do have spouses. So that's going to, we'll splash this all over our social media too, and so we'll get some bounce off of that. I don't want to say guarantee, but I pretty much I'll say it. I guarantee you'll have some inquiries, some folks that'll be, so let's just say that to somebody out there that's listening has got a Purple Heart, who's a Purple Heart recipient who's tuned in, or a veteran who's tuned in, and they go, I do have my wife is really good at this, that, or the other thing. What should they do? What should that person who wants to be like, I want to be on your team, man. I want to be in the VA USA team. What does that spouse got to do? How do they get a hold of you?
They go to our website. There's an intake form if you want to join the team, and that's the quickest way, right? That immediately starts the workflow. It's going to get them in the process. I don't do any of the screening or hiring. That's not what my roles are. So that's the quickest way to get tied in. And they can look around the website, and it'll have links to our social media, so they can kind of poke around and find out more what we're about. So anytime, we can get more military spouses headed our way, that is always a huge benefit for us. So, and then on the other side of it would be, you kind of know what we're about. If you're an executive, you run a nonprofit and you are task saturated, feel like you're a bottleneck within your company, or you just don't have enough time to focus on whatever else it is, whether it's income producing activities, or it's pouring into your people, or maybe it's just like, hey, I've neglected my family for the past 10 years of running this business, and now I'm going to try to make them more of a priority. We are here to enable you to pursue whatever it is that you would do if you had more time, because that's what we're going to give you. I'm not here to say that we're going to double your revenue. We're going to take off the tasks that can be delegated, and then you can go double that revenue. You can go do the income producing activities. So if you're task saturated out there, or just feeling overwhelmed, or a slave to your business, then, whether it's us or anyone else, I would highly encourage you to look at delegating to an executive assistant.
I'll tell you, man, there might be a few nonprofits that listen to this, but the vast majority, I think, of people in my personal enterprise are business people. I don't rub a lot of elbows with other, nonprofits. We do business partnerships with several, veteran service organizations that help our cause, and I think we help theirs as well. There's a lot of neat little partnerships and things happening there. But there's also, I think, you're going to find, I hope so, somebody out there is like, yeah, I could use, I could use a virtual assistant for sure. And most of them, I think, are, business people. Men and women are out there, slugging it out in the trench, small business people, maybe a few medium size and maybe a large or two out there. But it's a very, very interesting idea. But, that's the thing, is you got two sides to this equation that the foundation might be able to help you with. And that's on the labor pool side with the military spouses, but also in the business arena from clients, right?
Yes.
I think there'll be, I would imagine, that there'll be some folks out there who go, that's an interesting idea. We'll have to, take a look at that. In our case, I mentioned the thank you drill and data entry drill, and that, but that's where my requirements are, right? You got to start with, what are my requirements? These are the things that are, right now are our Achilles heel, the wobbly leg of the stool. However you want to say that. That's where I know that we need some support. The question is, can we figure out a mission match that makes sense for us. So, that's great, Brett. Super proud of you, man. I mean, you're going boldly. I don't know of another. I mean, I'm sure there's some other folks in this space, but let me ask you one last question here. I mean, how do you differentiate between what you're doing and, say, we've tried the temp, the temporary agencies, right? We've been down that road before, and with moderate success, I would say. But I mean, how do you differentiate yourself between somebody like that? I mean, obviously, you've spent a fair amount of time describing your business model, which doesn't sound anything like a temp agency, to be honest with you. But if you're an employer, prospective employer, how would you distinguish between what you do and what VAUSA does and your local temp agency? Mm-hmm. What's the big rub there?
Obviously, the number one differentiator is our cause. It's the military spouse portion. And I don't have to speak any more about that. I think everyone's pretty clear, and everyone, if you're in the world, you understand what they go through.
Right.
Our coaching program, which is a big differentiator. There are a lot of people who have tried hiring someone, whether it's through another company or one of these freelance folks, and they just don't get the return on their investment they're looking for. Mm-hmm. That's why we created this coaching program. We saw a need for it on both ends of the spectrum, and it's been very successful. I'm trying to create relationships that last and that work. And, if I can bring somebody in who is wise in this manner and can kind of help get over some of these initial barriers, because it's tough. And a lot of people, they're not used to this virtual world yet. It's still the wild, wild west. Mm-hmm. It's like, how do I do this effectively? How do I maintain like an actual relationship with this person? Because if you're just looking to throw work at someone and never have a conversation with them, we're not the business for you. We're here to be with businesses that want to invest in their people the way that we do. And those are two very big distinguishing aspects about what we do and why we have found success. And like I said, there's this space is getting crowded. There's more and more companies jumping in. There's more companies taking it overseas. And I get it. I get it why some companies just, it's like I can spend $10 and get someone in the Philippines. I understand. It's hard. I bootstrapped this company. And we did not have a lot of margin out there to be hiring people. But I can tell you one of the first things we did was bring in an assistant so that we could focus in on only what we could do. And I appreciate you bringing me on. I know that you have a lot of influence, and we love working with veteran-owned businesses. And I think we would both agree we want to see more veterans enter the entrepreneurial space. I mean, I think they are so well equipped for running and starting businesses, whether it's bootstrapping or doing some franchise model. It's an avenue I think a lot of guys aren't thinking about during their transition.
By bootstrapping, you've used that term a couple of times. I wish I understood what you meant, but what is it? What do you mean by that?
So it was completely self-funded. We cash flowed this business from the very beginning. So it started with my military salary. Mm-hmm. And then I worked in the construction industry, as we had talked about. I continued down that path for about a year and a half until the business was profitable enough to support our family. We didn't take on any debt. We didn't have any investors. And I can certainly see why many businesses start that way. And they have multiple rounds of raising money. Yeah. But when you're doing it from your house, out of your garage, whatever it is, that's bootstrapping. And it's a tough way to build a business.
Then I'm a bootstrapper, man.
Yes, sir.
That's it. It's just never heard that term. Well, that's great. Well, listen, I'll give you a last whack at the piñata here, man. Anything else you want to tell anybody out there? I mean, who's you got to have obviously business developers. I presume that you're the primary business developer. I am too.
Yes.
For the foundation, I always have been, always will be. I'm the guy. We have others, obviously, great, there's many great people out there who, have sort of drank our Kool-Aid, if you will. They understand the model, the mission, the results, et cetera, and they're out there, now essentially helping us, expand our envelope and our reach and obviously, the mission helping more combat wounded. So, that's the scenario you really want to be in. I presume you're there, but I mean, give me just give me a snapshot of one of your days. I mean, where do you find yourself spending your time?
Business development. So,
yeah,
my wife runs operations. As a visionary, my technical responsibilities are casting the future vision where we're taking this company, maintaining big relationships, solving big problems, and then focusing on our culture. But my days are mostly spent just how you and I got linked up is doing business development. And to be honest with you, it is not just for creating new clients. Every time I have a conversation, like the conversation you and I had, I don't ever walk away from those thinking that I just wasted my time, because I love talking to people who are like-minded, who are out there getting after it, trying to make change, trying to create opportunities for people. And so I find it extremely fulfilling. And the way I approach every situation is I'm going to try to bring value and help every single person that I interact with. That's just what I'm going to do, whether it's sending you connections or sending you clients. I'm going to do everything I can to try to bring you value. And I know that if I do that, then my needs are going to be taken care of in the end. And it's been a fun journey. I have really enjoyed, for someone who's not as social as probably a lot of biz dev guys are, I have really enjoyed it. And the people that I've gotten to meet, instead of being stuck in my house all the time, like a lot of the guys who transition and they lose that camaraderie, they lose that social aspect. This is feeding me as much as I'm using it to feed the business. Yeah,
that's kind of where I was at, and still am to this day. I mean, I enjoy chatting with people. I enjoy creating things, and improving things, and and streamlining, making things better. But doing that through people, leveraging the power of the human spirit and talent. Right. That's where it's at, purpose, direction, motivation. I mean, that's, it all boils down to influence, right? That's what you want to do. You want to be able to influence people, systems, things, this is what leaders do. Right. And so that's good. Well, we wish you the best, of success, buddy. We'll when this thing gets, wrapped up in the can, we'll splash it everywhere we can and encourage folks. What's your website? Tell us that again.
It's HIRE, HIREVAUSA.com.
Okay. Very good. Excellent. Well, listen, thanks for your service. Thank you for your time. And we wish you and your family and your entire enterprise there at VAUSA a bunch of success, and however you measure that, however you've envisioned that, it's a great thing that you're doing, helping take care of people, military spouses, and providing solutions for employers, like myself, and it sounds like a really wonderful model. A great idea, and I hope it's just as successful as you ever hoped it would be. I mean, that people do ask me from time to time. I hear on occasion, did you ever think it would, do this, that, or the other thing? And I go, just being honest with you, yeah, I did. I really did. I did hope it would be, as big as it is, or, as successful in terms of what it's doing for people, right? I mean, of course I hoped that. At first, when it was, for me, it was a dog, a boat, a chunk of terrain, and myself, yeah, I mean, I needed a lot of people to put a lot of oars in the water and start paddling. But once that started happening and the momentum started to, build, then, you look back on it and go, wow, it's a ton of work, right? That's what you experience every day. This is just a ton of work. What you're doing is a ton of work, and you've got the world on your shoulders, but, you got a lot of really good help, in your corner. You got a beautiful family, you got a bunch of great friends, you got a wonderful network. But at the end of the day, it's still a lot of work. You asked for it.
Yep.
You asked for it, man. Right? You just said you started out this conversation by saying you wanted to be the guy in charge.
That's right.
That's right. And God bless you for that, because that's not an easy thing. When you start getting success, people look at it and go, "Well, geez, this guy, blah, 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 blah." Hey, dude, you have no idea, man. You have no idea. My mom used to have a little placard above her sink that said, "Thou shalt not criticize thy neighbor until you've walked a mile in their moccasins."
Mm-hmm.
And as an entrepreneur, man, it's a 50-meter trench fight every day.
Yes.
I don't care if it's for profit or not for profit. It's harder in the nonprofit sector because I get the last dollar. Everybody buys shoes, booze, and cars and all this other stuff. And if there's any disposable discretionary income, then they got to choose among 1,000 different, a bazillion different charities to give it to. So, hey, it's hard. It's hard. This space, I'm not complaining. I love it. I want to compete for that last dollar. I want to be better than everybody. That's what I want to. That's the position I want to be in. It's hard work, but it's rewarding and it's good. And and you're probably I see you just nodding your head because man. I mean, it's a lonely place sometimes.
It is. But like you said, it's fun and it's rewarding, and everyone's looking for that thing when they transition. How am I going to replace some of the things I got out of the Rangers? And business has been that for me. It is competitive. Yeah. It is constantly solving complex problems, which is what gunfighting is. Exactly. And I, like you said, I want to be the guy with the ball before the buzzer goes off. That's who I want to be. And, and that's what we are, John. We're creators. We are creating things. We are seeing something in the future and we are bringing it into fruition. One of the things you and I talked about, and I once again, I just want to congratulate you on the success you've had, the fact that you've devoted your life to this cause. And we know this veteran community needs it, but you were talking about how many volunteers you had.
Mm-hmm.
All of those volunteers, they want to serve.
Yes.
You created the opportunity for them to serve. And those people are getting as much out of this organization as the people you were trying to help. Because I can tell you what I've found in the past few years, and this is a culmination of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Every single person I've ever met finds joy and fulfillment from helping other people. And that sounds simple and vanilla, but that is the truth. We have an innate drive to help others. And you and I are in a position to create vehicles where people can make a change. And that's what we do. We try to create these opportunities, and it's a blast.
What? Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, you're focusing on all the right things, man. I mean, you really are. I mean, they used to say, when they talk about business, there's three things that are important: location, location, and location. Well, okay, maybe if you're talking about Main Street brick and mortar once upon a time, but the world's changed. The three things that are important in your business are the same three things that are important in my business, and that's relationships, relationships, and relationships. That's it. So, you got a lot of relationships you're managing. You're managing the relationships between your company and the employees, managing relationships between your clients and your company and your labor force. I mean, there's a lot of, throw in a coach, you got more relationships, but that's at the end of the day, you got to have good people working for you and you got to result. You got to perform, right? Mm-hmm. That's right. Give me the ball. Okay. I want the ball. I'm the guy when you got 5 seconds left on the clock, I'm the guy that wants the ball. So give me the ball, but not everybody wants the ball. So that's good. God bless you, buddy. Merry Christmas to you. I know it is that time. If you're listening to this in July, it's December, and Christmas is right around the corner. And so wish you and everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays, and all that good stuff. It is that time of year, and we definitely thank you, Brett, for your time. And again, we just wish you the best of luck in what you're doing.
Thank you, John. I hope you have a wonderful holidays. Thank you for devoting yourself to this community. And if there is anything that I can do to help you be more successful in your mission, I hope you will reach out.
I appreciate that. We're going to give this a go for you, buddy, and see. And this is a challenge to everybody out there who's listening. If you know somebody who needs some help, like an employer, if you are an employer, then check out VAUSA. And if you're an employee or a spouse, military spouse, and you're listening to this, or you know a military spouse that is looking for work and is sharp, then go to the website VAUSA and get a hold of Brett and his team and join his team, because from what I can tell, you're a phenomenal leader and you're going to do just great. You are doing great. Proud of you.
Thank you, John. Proud of you as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Ranger. Okay, buddy. Take care of yourself, all right? We'll see you around the block.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening, folks. Have a good day.
To learn more about the mission of the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation and how you can get involved, please visit our website at wwiaf.org or follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thank you for listening to the WWIA podcast and for helping us honor, connect, and heal our combat wounded Purple Heart heroes through the power of the great outdoors.
If you like what you're listening to here and would like to join our team in our mission to bring healing power and recovery to America's Purple Heart heroes, please become part of our Sponsor a Hero team by clicking on the link in the podcast notes or by going to wwiaf.org/sponsor. That's wwiaf.org/sponsor. Our heroes need you now more than ever. Thank you.